Ask him if he's cleaning snacks.
I think it sounds like he's working in the kitchen. Hey, I'm gonna leave you on speaker.
No.
So if you just wanna mute yourself up, and then you can hear the answers as we
I'm
move through.
first, you're second.
All right.
I don't know what the other order.
All right, I've got Commissioner McAllister on. Commissioner, we've already called to order and taken public comment. We're going to give, even though the agenda has 15 minutes, there's no objection by the committee members. We're gonna give everyone 10 minutes like everyone else had at the previous interview. We'll take, we have the same questions for everyone. Don't feel like you have to answer exactly that question, but the question's a prompt for you to let us know what you want us to know about you. So I'll take the first one, and we'll go in counterclockwise orders depending on where Commissioner McAllister sits when he gets here. I'll read his for him until he gets here because it's easier to hear. So first we have Bruce Moore. Bruce, briefly tell us why you are specifically interested in becoming a member of this committee. And this is Beta.
I'm particularly interested in Beta because I use Beta a lot. Well, I use it about once a month. And it's a key reason why we chose Traverse City, because we wanted to choose a city that had public transit. I've been a big public transit user in Dallas, used the train system extensively, and really saw how public transit transformed the development of the area. Because every time they put in a train station, within 3 years there are 600 apartments around that train station. I've also used both bus and train networks in New York, Washington, Boston, a number of areas. So I know how different jurisdictions handle payments, how they handle their interfaces to, at this point, Google Maps and other things that make transit easier to use, because it's not necessarily easy. I've also used it in a number of foreign countries where they have some different solutions to some of the same problems. And my background is in operations research, which is basically modeling for business problems. The specific optimization type problems in a bus system would be forecasting, forecasting demand, solving the optimization model of routing to figure out what routes will provide the best service at the lowest cost. There's also an optimization problem for crew scheduling. In a bus system, that's probably a lot less than it is in an airline system, but there is a crew scheduling to cover all of the routes with the minimum number of employees that you have. That's the big financial problem in the airline industry. And a bus network has some of those same kinds of problems. There's also an optimization problem for fleet assignment. Beta has, just looking at it, at least 2 or 3 different kinds of buses, and how they assign those buses to routes is a big driver of efficiency, especially in something with the seasonal nature that we have in terms of demands here. I also have experience in marketing, which is probably one of the biggest areas where I think Beta can improve, because there are a lot of fixed costs in running a bus network. The cost for the first passenger is pretty high. The cost for the second passenger is about this much. But kind of back to the original point, my wife and I spend together about $6,000 on local transportation, between mileage on our car, $100 for the Beta millage, about $250 for the road commission millage. Coming soon, about $500 for a special assessment for the road right in front of our house. And one of the things in doing that cost analysis that I realized is that even though I only use Beta about once a month, that more than pays for the $100 that I spend on the millage. Because I avoid parking, and I avoid, which amounts to about $5 for every trip I come into town, and I avoid about $7.50 in mileage. So it actually, the best way that I can reduce my my total local transportation spending is actually to use Beta more. And I think that's a hidden savings for the people in our community that people just don't know about. So that's why I have a passion for public transportation, and why I think both my academic background and my business background suit Beta quite well.
Benny, your question?
Okay, well, in your opinion, what are the functions of the Beta Board, and what strengths will you offer to build a balance of expertise on the board?
The function of the Beta Board is governance. It is to make sure that the money is being spent prudently, that it's not being wasted, and it is to give guidance to the executive director on, have you looked at this problem? Have you considered this? It is not to micromanage the executive director. It's really a policy organization to bring skills to the table that and perspectives that the executive director may not have, or may be too overtaxed to pay attention to.
What business expertise have you acquired in your current and past employment that you think will provide benefit? This is worded wrong. Yeah. Provide beneficial in providing. Will be beneficial in providing guidance to this board.
I can read financial statements. I worked at a credit union for a decade and was responsible for a data warehouse. We didn't produce the documents that went directly to the financial statements, but we did really all of the reporting for management accounting, not financial accounting, but for management accounting, of really understanding what's going on in the business. So we handled all of the accrual methods used for the management accounting of figuring out which loan products are doing well and which loan products aren't. I spent a lot of time, the latter part of my time with the credit union, on pricing models and optimization models for that. So I'm very comfortable reading financial statements and identifying problems and strengths. So in terms of oversight of a board, that's a real skill that is absolutely necessary in a board, and it's one that I have from my business background. I've already talked a little bit about my academic training and optimization modeling, and how those particular optimization models apply specifically to Beta and the kind of transportation network that Beta is running. Also, a career in IT, any kind of transportation process now, there's a lot of IT involved in terms of terminals on buses to handle payment and those kinds of authorization, communication networks, and interfaces to Google Maps and all of the other different applications that people use to make the bus system more usable, so that you don't have to memorize timetables and figure out the question, when is the bus actually going to get here?
Have you attended any of this board's meetings in the past or done research regarding this board?
I have attended one meeting in person. I've reviewed a couple of other videos of meetings. The only other preparation I've done was to prepare a binder would and download all of the minutes. I've reviewed the founding documents for Beta and all of the different legal opinions for the current dispute. So I have done that preparation. I haven't on it, as you know, I go to a lot of public meetings. I haven't gone to any Beta meetings because honestly, I haven't seen it as a dumpster fire and didn't really, I thought there were higher priorities for where I should spend my time at public meetings.
Got about 2 minutes left. I just want to remark, regardless of the outcome of this, I'd love to have some more conversations with you on Beta. It sounds like you've done some research.
What's that?
I was talking to him.
Oh, I'm just making notes of everything that Bruce is saying, because I mean, it's like, how can you say no to this guy?
I know, he's a really good candidate.
Seriously.
Go ahead, Penny.
Okay, so what previous experience in serving on committees or in community activities will enhance your contribution to the board?
Prior to moving here, I served on the church council, which was, we worshipped about 600, $2 million budget. During my time on that council, we hired our pastor for 30 years retired, so we went through the hiring process for a new pastor, a new director of music, and a new director of youth activities. So we spent a lot of time going through the analysis of what kind of person do we want. And we did a pretty good job in looking back on it. Some of the advice that we got was not very good. One of the things that we were told is that we should fill the music position first because an incoming pastor wouldn't want to have to get that program back on track. The problem with that is in the tradition that we were in, that discouraged a lot of very qualified music directors because they didn't want to come in thinking that it's going to be a very traditional service and then have a new pastor who wanted to go to an amplified music, a much more modern kind of service. So in retrospect, we probably would have sequenced those two differently. But all of the people that we hired stuck around for several years, and nobody was fired for cause. There were some people that left, but they weren't fired for cause. So I thought that was really a very successful process. I was also on the board and subsequently Commodore of the sailing club that I belonged to. That was about a $250,000 budget. The first day, after becoming the Commodore, my first reaction, what have I done? And immediately went through and did a review of all of the insurance policies. And I'm happy to report that no one drowned, and we didn't have any fires. And we survived 7 floods. The first three of which were truly awful because this was a lake that flooded regularly, but 7 in 1 year is unusual, and there'd been a drought for about 7 years. So the first 3 floods brought down 7 years worth of dead trees and trash, and it was a monumental cleanup.
Bruce, we're about out of time. Any last thing you want us to know about you?
I think I'm well suited to the Beta board, and this would actually be a lot of fun.
All right.
I would attack this very enthusiastically.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. We're going to jump right into Fern. Thank you for your patience, Fern. You've heard my spiel. You know how this goes. Yeah. We'll jump right into the questions. So,
sure.
Briefly tell us why you are specifically interested in becoming a member of this committee.
Because I have a great appreciation for public transit. similar to what Bruce was saying, I've used public transit in every city I've ever lived in. I lived in Seattle without a car. I lived in Boston without a car and relied on their public transit to get me between work and my home and other points of interest and other things I had to do for life. I didn't have a lot of money at the time, and having to buy a car would have been burdensome. And I understand that that's a real burden for people who live in this community. I also studied transit-oriented development while I was getting my master's in urban and regional planning at Michigan State University. I had hands-on experience with that while doing overseas study with my MSU group. We traveled through Berlin, Belgrade, Serbia, and Lisbon, Portugal, to study their public transit system and how it applies to where people choose to live. I also appreciate the fact that we have a really vulnerable population in this group, in this community, and I've noticed comments on social media about people riding their bikes down 31 at night in dark clothing, and I can tell you that those people don't choose to ride their bikes along US 31 in dark clothing late at night. They probably don't have access to a car. So I feel like public transit and Beta is necessary for those three reasons. I have a good understanding of it, and I would be a great board member because I understand it's an essential service.
Penny?
In your opinion, what are the functions of the board, and what strengths will you offer to build a balance of expertise on the board?
Thank you. So I've been looking over this book called the Nonprofit Board Answer Book, the 3rd edition, and there's 3 legal requirements of serving on a board such as this: the duty of care, where decisions are made on behalf of the organization. There's also a legal requirement of loyalty, where the Beta board member would need to understand the organization of Beta coming first, despite any of their values outside of serving on the Beta board, and a duty of obedience, where Beta would remain true to its mission of state and federal laws. And those are what I feel the Beta board should use as a guiding principle.
What expertise have you acquired in your current or past employment that you think will be beneficial in providing guidance to this board?
This summer, I was an intern with MDOT, the Michigan Department of Transportation. I got my certification in statewide and metropolitan transportation programming, which included understanding our metropolitan planning organization and the metropolitan planning area that we're a part of now. It also, this training talked about fiscal responsibility and being fiscally constrained, and it talked about how funding from the federal level gets allocated and appropriated for public transportation. I think that training was excellent. I think that my hands-on experience with MDOT gave me a good appreciation for complete streets, and how, I don't know if you know that MDOT has a multimodal by 2045 initiative where they look at complete streets for all users. That would be vehicles, trucks, and bikes, pedestrians, and public transit. So that experience was really valuable to me.
Have you attended any of this board's meetings in the past or done research regarding this board?
Yes, I attended board meetings. I'm a local advisory committee member with Beta, and I've watched several of the videos of the meetings, and I have attended them. So I'm pretty knowledgeable about the board.
What's the committee you're on?
The local advisory committee.
This is what it's called?
LAC.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the committee about? I'm not familiar with it.
So we meet quarterly at the Beta office, and we discuss ways, best practices, like what we see that's going well with Beta, areas for improvement, and we just give a local user's perspective.
How many are on
This is a good question. Like 8 of us?
Penny?
Okay, what previous experience in serving on committees or in community activities will enhance your contribution to the board?
So I'm a Garfield Township Parks and Recreation Commission member. I'm the co-chair. So I understand our budget and how we need to stay in line with our annual budget, and our projects have to fit that for the next fiscal year. I've been a committee member for Parks and Rec for over 5 years. I've just recently been appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, so I'm a ZBA member for Garfield Township too. I've been a deacon at my church in the past, which took a lot of organization and planning, and planned several events for them. And I also am an MSU Master Gardener volunteer. I'm in charge of all the planters downtown. We have 42 of them now, and I work with a team. We manage an annual budget. We do all the ordering. We put together a Gantt chart, which has a schedule for getting together and planning, and I think we do a really good job.
Is that a volunteer position?
It is.
Thank you for doing that, it's beautiful.
You're really welcome. It's a lot of work.
I grew up in a flower shop, I know.
Okay. So yeah, I'm organized, and I love being part of a process. I love a good project. I like to start it. I like to finish it. And I also collaborate with other organizations. Like I reached out to E-Trans in preparation for this interview. That's the Eaton County Transportation Authority, and also Clinton County's Blue Bus. And I asked them questions about how they choose their board. And their boards are all appointed by the county commission because they want to be fiscally responsible. But to my surprise, none of their county commissioners serve on the board. There's one that oversees it for the Blue Bus of Clinton County, is my understanding, but all the other people are appointed outside of the commission.
Are you a year-round resident, and can you commit to attending monthly meetings and additional time for special committees or projects?
Yes, I live not too far away.
And how would you seek views and opinions from staff and or the community on topics being addressed by this board?
Very open-minded. I believe in dialogue. I actually think that when people dissent, it's a good thing, but I also feel that it's really, really important to have a mix of different opinions. You gotta have people from all different sides, and they need to represent really get a wide net of people to share their thoughts and opinions. I'm a taxpayer. I'm very fiscally responsible. That's really important to me. But as I said in the beginning of this interview, I also have strong feelings about vulnerable users, and we have to take care of people in our community.
Time for one more, Penny.
Sure, okay. Do you have any personal or professional connections with members of the county commission or business ties with the county government or individual county commissioners you feel you should disclose?
No business ties.
Okay.
And no, I would say I do
I'm not sure why we have that question, but it's a question.
Yeah.
It's one of those if we get to a question. So.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's our last question, and that was exactly 10 minutes. Any last minute, anything you want us to know about you?
I wanted to make sure that you were aware that I'm on the local advisory committee for Beta, and that I have a strong background in complete streets study. It's an area of interest for me from Michigan State University's Master in Urban and Regional Planning, which is why I take a really strong interest in public transit.
All right. Well, thank you very much for it.
Thank you.
Our next one is Justin, if you want to, you can dial him up. Hello, Justin. This is Rob Henschel. We're doing our interviews. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes. So we've got a room full of interviewees and public. Commissioner Morris is here with me, and Commissioner McAllister is on speakerphone with me. He's en route. So we're going to work through our questions with you, sir, and just answer the best you can. Feel free to add anything in. It's not a strictly answer this question. Just tell us whatever you want us to know about you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so the first question is, briefly tell us why you are specifically interested in becoming a member of this committee.
Yeah, and so first off, I appreciate the opportunity. I live over by two beta stops, which is the Books A Million stop and the Grand Traverse Crossing Circle stop. And anyways, you know, I'm young. I'm 23, but public transportation is something that people my age, young adults, are certainly getting more and more, they rely more and more on it. And, I just think that with that certainly being the case, my perspective could be valued on that board, and I'd be more than happy to give that perspective.
Okay. Penny, your question.
Yes, in your opinion, what are the functions of the Beta Board, and what strengths will you offer to build a balance of expertise on the board?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Commissioner Morris. And so the crux of to my understanding anyways, the purpose of the Beta Board is really delegated in Act, I think it's 196 of 1986, the Public Acts of the State of Michigan. And instead of getting into the crux of it, the gist of it is that the Beta Board makes rules and bylaws for the Beta government. And if I have any other questions or concerns or need any clarification, I do know where to reference that material.
Thank you.
All right. What business expertise have you acquired in your current and past employment that you think will be beneficial in providing guidance to this board?
Great question, and I appreciate that also. So right now I'm a tax associate. I prepare taxes at a nonprofit, and I'm also a student pilot at NMC. And whether it's numbers or pressures or altitudes, one thing that I've come to appreciate is the fine details. And I've applied that in some of my other board experiences that I'm on, with one of them being addiction treatment services. Whether it be the necessity for a boiler for one of our rehab facilities or detox centers, or trying to weigh the pros and cons of increasing staff, or meeting a census that NMRE has set for our beds and heads and beds in order for us to get funding. I think attention to detail is certainly important, and that's one of the strong suits that in my professional life that I think I would bring to the board.
Have you attended any of this board's meetings in the past or done research regarding this board?
Yes, sir, to both.
Penny?
What previous experience in serving on committees or in community activities will enhance your contribution to the board?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Commissioner Morris. And again, I'll piggyback on my previous comment, which was, I currently serve on a nonprofit board, which is Addiction Treatment Services off of Garfield. And just understanding the give and takes of an organization, knowing that I'm one voice, but ultimately we serve the one purpose. I think having that mindset is certainly important for that board and other boards, also including the Beta Board. And I really think that would be a valued skill set with this board.
Are you a year-round resident, and can you commit to attending monthly meetings and additional time for special committees or projects?
Yes, sir.
How would you seek views and opinions from staff and or the community on topics being addressed by this board?
Great question. So, I always lean back back on or refer back to one of my favorite quotes that my mom always told me, which is, God gave me one mouth and 2 ears, and that's really to listen. It's a community transportation system, and it has to serve the people. And the best way for me to do that, or to make sure that Beta follows that guiding principle, is to listen to its constituents. So I'm an active listener, and that's certainly how I would go about it.
Do you have any personal or professional connections with members of the county commission or business ties with the county government or individual county commissioners you feel you should disclose?
Yes, ma'am. I've got very good personal friendships with many of the commissioners.
Very good. I had a cigar with Justin on Friday. So
That's true.
At Nolan's. And several other people. All right. I think that was the last question, Justin.
Perfect.
Anything else about you want us to know?
You know what? I'm going to plead the fifth and reserve the balance of my time and yield it to the next qualified interviewee. So I appreciate your time, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Next we have William Bellinger. Is this William?
Yes.
He's heading this way.
All right.
We're a little ahead of schedule, but why not?
Pick an open spot.
Yeah, anywhere you like is fine. We've got Commissioner McAllister is listening remotely as he's en route from Interlochen. So we give everybody about 10 minutes to answer the questions.
Okay.
Don't feel like you have to answer the question perfectly, just the important part is to tell us what you want us to know about you.
Okay.
So the questions are more of a prompt, if you will.
Okay.
First, I'm sorry, I'm Rob Henschel,
Rob,
County
nice to meet
Commissioner, Chair of the committee. Commissioner Morris. Briefly tell us why you are specifically interested in becoming a member of this committee.
I've often thought about applying to be on a committee, and I lived in Fife Lake previously. I now reside in Traverse City, and with work schedules and other aspects of my life, it was never a good time. And now I feel is the best time to do it. I have the time to commit to it. And believe it or not, I like business meetings. You can accomplish a lot. So I've sat in numerous business meetings before, not these particular, but I just feel it's the right time in my life to do it.
Commissioner Morris.
In your opinion, what are the functions of the Beta Board, and what strengths will you offer to build a balance of expertise on the board?
I believe, in my opinion, the Beta Board is, pardon the expression, the head. They set forth the rules, policies, guidelines, so that, I'm gonna call them the frontline workers. The frontline workers can focus on what they need to do, drive the buses, supervise the drivers, manage their individual stations overall.
What business expertise have you acquired in your current or past employment that you think will be beneficial in providing guidance to this board?
I have had numerous jobs, mostly in the public sector, customer service related. So I have dealt with a plethora of different individuals, and we all have our own biases, be it, age, gender, racial biases. We all have them. We may not know we have them. So I have become adept at recognizing if you have a bias and helping you work through those biases through managerial duties.
Okay. Have you attended any of this board's meetings in the past or done research regarding this board?
I have not.
Commissioner Morris.
What previous experience in serving on committees or in community activities will enhance your contribution to the board?
I am a member of the Masonic fraternity. I'm a Freemason. I'm also a Shriner. I am also a member of a couple of the Masonic appendant bodies, and to date, since 2010, I have been a part of or led over 500 business meetings. And that again plays into dealing with a wide range of people, from 13-year-old youth to 60, 70-year-old people who may be set in their ways with their biases and not be open to new ways of doing things. So I have quite a few business meetings under my belt. I ran business meetings for over a year, sometimes 5 times a month. So if it wasn't apparent before, after 500 meetings, I like business meetings. A lot can be accomplished.
Is that to say you're familiar with parliamentary procedure and Robert's rules?
Yes.
Or- Okay.
Yep.
All right. Are you a year-round resident, and can you commit to attending monthly meetings and additional time for special meetings or projects?
Yes. I live off of Lafreniere, and I've already confirmed with my current supervisor that anytime I need off, if given a position on the board, he will give me time off from work for those meetings.
How will you seek views and opinions from staff and/or the community on topics being addressed by this board?
You have to take everything with an open mind. If you're closed mind towards anything, then nothing can be accomplished. We as humans accomplish more working together than by yourselves. And that again goes back to biases. Everybody has a bias of some sort. You may not know it, and you have to be able to work with different viewpoints to accomplish the goal at hand.
Commissioner Morse?
Do you have any personal or professional connections with members of the county commission or business ties with the county government or individual county commissioners you feel you should disclose?
I have no business ties. I know Scott Seifert. It's not a personal connection. We would probably recognize each other, but he used to be one of my security officers when I was in charge of security here at Circuit Court and District Court. Other than that, Scott is the only one.
All right, that's the end of our questions. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you want us to know about you?
I currently drive for Pace North, so I kind of have firsthand experience, even though we don't deal with the same clientele as beta drivers do, but I am on the road just as much as beta drivers. I see them all day long. I've gotten to visually know a couple of them. We wave, so I kind of know what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. My roommate used to be a dispatcher here for Grand Traverse County, and she's told me some stories about what the drivers go through, people not wanting to pay fares and so on. So I don't know that aspect of it, but being on the road, dealing with traffic, I feel like I can relate to the drivers and be a strong advocate for them.
All right, that's all we have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I apologize, but I must return to work.
That's fine. We're gonna take a little recess here. I think we got a couple minutes. Yep, we've got the next one at 2 o'clock, so we'll take about 16, 17-minute break unless,
Sarah is here.
oh, Sarah. Oh, do you wanna, let's do Sarah.
Thank you.
You don't have to.
No, it's
I'm not in a hurry.
All right.